Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Convos with Diderios. We appreciate you all being here today. And today's session, we're going to be chatting with a very successful real estate investor, Mr. Chris Thieneman. Thank you so much for being here. Let's just say Chris has been doing this. Hi, Nikki. Let's just say Chris has been doing this all his life. He's been in the real estate industry all his life. We can basically say he was born into it. Like Beyonce would say, I was born like this.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Pretty much, yes. So Chris, one of the reasons I wanted you on this show today is because I've often noticed a lot of people talk about real estate, but often they usually don't know where to begin. It's always, I want to start, I want to invest in it, I want to do this, but no one knows where to begin. And a lot of friends of mine have told me, you should get somebody on the show to talk about it. So even I was like, I don't use my resources enough. I have you. I can always call you to ask you questions about real estate.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on here today. So Chris, if you could please introduce yourself to everybody so that they can have a little bit of idea of who you are. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Doctor. My name is Chris Thieneman, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, but I've lived all over the country playing professional football in my younger days. I graduated with a business degree from the University of Louisville, where I was an All-American football player, but I took my passion for football up in the Canadian Football League, played there 4 years, signed with the Dallas Cowboys, got hurt, and always tried to get back. Played a year in the World Football League where I was all pro, and I would always save my money, and where all my other teammates would always spend their money. And I always thought about the future. My future always meant more to me than the moment. So because I can have fun regardless of I don't look at material things as my sense of fulfillment. I look at, because time goes so fast. And so I always look to the future of I took my money and saved it and just started in the real estate business. You know, I've been really fortunate to have a father that taught me a lot. I really learned more from him than I did anything in school. And then I had some good old teammates that were in the movie business, and they got me into some TV and movies. So I've been fortunate just to have some cameos, some fun there. I like to live my life to the fullest. So
Absolutely. That is so true. Chris, you just gave us a very good introduction of yourself.
Oh,
I love that. I think people have a better idea of who you are. So to my audience, you guys, today's going to be a Q&A session. I'm going to start by asking Chris a few questions, and then I'm going to have you guys ask your questions as well. So I encourage you all to please go ahead and participate for a chance to win an awesome gift. And Chris will be picking the winners. Chris, at the end of the show, you have to pick 2 winners to win an awesome gift at the end. So you just have to pay attention to who might be engaging the most, who stands out to you, who you like their questions. You can just pick them out. All right. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and start, right? So Chris, real estate encompasses residential real estate, commercial real estate, and industrial real estate, and land. A lot of millennials often think about buying houses. This is typical for Americans, or buying land and building, which is typical for Nigerians. Chris, can you please elaborate on the different types of real estate investment opportunities that we have?
Yeah, you know, real estate, they don't make any more of it. So it's a commodity that will continue to appreciate. So the residential is something that would already be developed, you know, a home, apartment, or anything you would live in or someone else would live in. The commercial real estate is the things that I'm involved with now. It's developing for a Taco Bell. Like I'm signing a deal this week with a Taco Bell, but I own a McDonald's, the real estate there, the commercial real estate, and it's a little bit tougher now because of COVID has hurt a lot of the retail and Amazon as well, but there's still a lot of money in that. And the industrial is really hot right now. That's where what Amazon has been here in Louisville has been just gobbling up everything they can get. They're literally building a 1 million square foot building. Think about that, 1 million square feet that they're going to lease from a friend of mine and or an acquaintance, a competitor, I should say. The land is and you can make you got to make your money. You got to buy property that is income producing to help you with cash flow, because cash flow is more important than net worth. And land is the most difficult to bring cash flow, but it's the part that if you have the right real estate land, you can make the most amount of money for it. The big money, the most amount of money is developing real estate. It's where you buy a 20-acre piece of property and subdivide it into lots, selling it to individuals to build homes so they can rent them out. You can make money on the rentals, but the real money is developing the property, and that's what that's really where I started taking the biggest jump in my net worth, was developing, hitting it literally when the real estate crash from 2008. That time, I had developed a couple hundred lots, and literally just by a little bit of education, but a lot of luck, I sold the last lot literally months before the crash came. And yeah, and you have to see it coming to a degree, and have, I'd rather be lucky than good, and it's great to be both.
Awesome. Chris, so just so that I understand, you said buying land and developing, that's where the real money is at.
Yeah, and that's like if you see a raw piece of ground, one that nothing, like a farm, and you got it in a good location, and then you'll take and get the sewers put in, the water put in, the roads put in, and then the builders will buy the lots from you, right? And there's that's where that you can turn a couple $100,000 investment into millions.
Wow.
At least there, with my experience, what I've been fortunate to do. It's hard to do that on a home. It's pretty much impossible. But yeah, finding the right land, and if you can afford to hold on to it for a while, or just find it and develop it if you have the ability to do that. And the best advice that I could give you is, if you like real estate, is to look for it, and not the property that's already been for sale. If there's a for sale sign on it, typically you're kind of too late. I'm calling. If I see something that I like, I'll call and find the owner. And I love it when they tell me that they're not interested in selling. You might laugh at that, but think about it. If they're telling you no, they've already told everybody no. Right. So, and what I have done differently than my family members and other friends is, instead of when you hear a no and you just move on, if I really like the property, I'll cultivate a relationship, and because it's all about, it has a lot to do with the relationships, and I'll find the owner and talk to him and say, hey, do you mind if I call you every 6 months, and see if you change your mind? And I said, if I'm ever bugging you, just tell me to stop. But I'll write him a note, send him a card, and a Christmas card, or for example, there was a mobile home park that I wanted to buy 10 years ago. I've been asking this he was 89 years old at the time, and every year I'd always send him a card. Every 6 months I'd give him a call. And when he was ready to sell, when he was 98 years old and still sharp as a whip, he never reached out to anybody else but me.
But you, yes.
But yeah, because I had that relationship, he knew that I was capable, and he didn't need to, because most owners don't want to go get a real estate agent and go to the trouble and try to sell their property. If they have somebody, that's why I've also have forgotten to call somebody that might have been on my lower level of real estate that I liked and not called them as much, but they promised me they would call me whenever they wanted to sell, and they didn't, and I missed out on it. But you know, you can't. I don't worry about the things that I miss out on, because if it's like baseball and me, if I never swing at a pitch, then I'm never going to hit it. But you're going to miss the ball. You're not going to hit 100% of the time. So you got to just swing as much as you can. It's like an old saying that my dad said, you know, when he would watch me on the sidelines, very rarely, but he said, you know, you can't make a tackle standing on the sidelines. You got to get out there.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. So you mentioned this different types of real estate, and your main focus was on land. So as a new investor like me, I'm not sure, would you recommend starting with getting a land or starting with a single family home? Like how should new investors get into the real estate industry?
Well, that's a great question, and I definitely wouldn't recommend jumping in on land, because then you're potentially going to just have to hold it. You know, it might not be the right time, but if you can afford to hold on to it, if you have money out there, and you've already built up some a portfolio of real estate, I would recommend finding, you know, some property to develop. But if you're out there starting to look, it really depends on what kind of passion you have. You know, you got to have the passion for it. You got to want to do this. But if you really want to succeed, the first thing that I did, even though I grew up around real estate, the first thing my father told me is to go get your real estate license. I went and took the 2-week course. It's only a 2-week course. You can, and it could be longer if you don't have the time. But if you have the time, if you just graduated from college, go take a 2-week crash course in your real estate, your local company, and you're going to learn so much from that, so much from it. And even though I never became a realtor. I mean, I had my license, but I never sold or bought property for somebody else. The knowledge and the connections, you're going to meet so many people that are in that business wanting to sell. And if you're an investor, you're going to meet all these people, young, hungry people that want to get into the real estate business, and they're going to call you, you know, just get a relationship with them, and then say, hey, I'm looking for this or that. And but one of the things, if you're young and have the ability to live at home, I would live at home, but I would buy a house. I would buy a home and rent it out. And then, you know, just, you got to have your long-term goals. And time flies. I promise you that time flies. 5-10 years is nothing. And so if you're willing to live there at home, buy a house, rent it out, so you're already going to have that name, the home in your name. It's going to look like you're going to be able to get a home equity line on it. Or you could do, I've had a friend do this. You can buy a 4-plex and live in one. And then at least locally, you can buy a 4-plex and you can pick whoever you want to live in those other 3 units. Now, you cannot discriminate in rentals on anything bigger than 4. But if you're living in one, you can let anybody or any type of person live in those other 3 units because you're living in there. At least that's what it's going on. And you want to be able to always kind of like kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's nice to have a house that you're paying for and living in, but you know, you're not really going to benefit faster unless you sacrifice. I lived it, even after I got out of college, I lived at home for a couple of years, but I bought a duplex right away, and I rented it out and was able to have tax advantages to that. And but you can only do as big as you can do it. So, you know, If all you can afford is a single family home, then if you can afford anything, you know, put your money into real estate. Don't put it into cars and jewelry and things like that. Think about the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So you mentioned for what you're suggesting is probably single family home or a multiplex if you're able to afford that.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Thank you so much, Chris. So assuming we are interested in investing in these two options you just mentioned, how much do you think we need to have saved up, and how can we get started?
Well, real estate is very local. You know, I know a heck of a lot about the real estate business in Louisville, Kentucky, but I don't know a lot about the market in Dallas or Chicago and different areas. So you got to know your location. You got to know what neighborhoods are good investments. You got to really pay attention to your market, and really the amount of money that you need is going to depend on what you can afford to buy. I know it's tough to say, but let me give you an example. Like in Louisville, I'm helping some new folks that have never been able to afford a real estate. But here in Louisville, there's in our West End, the one that they really want to revitalize, renovate, bring back up, and what's that word I'm looking for?
Renovate, no.
Revitalize.
Revamp. Okay.
Revitalize.
Revitalize. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But they are selling lots right now for $3,000 and $4,000. And my friend just bought a home that needs some renovation work that he paid $6,000 for. Now it needs some work. And a buddy of mine that I just helped get financing paid for a home in this area for $18,000 and already had a tenant in it renting for $600 a month. Now, you know, maybe there are some government programs out there for you in your city, but in Louisville, there's a great opportunity for the young investor that that doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, if you can buy a lot that's in a growing, potentially positive neighborhood like the government wants in Louisville wants this community to have. I'm helping some of my friends get these $4,000 lots and just advising them how to you know, the next step to go.
Right.
And I mentioned my plumber, or one of my friends that just bought a house. He's a plumber. So for those of you that are listening, if you're not interested in college, and I don't promote college for everybody, but if you're wanting to be in the real estate business, I would recommend getting a trade. A lot of my friends that are really growing and have a lot of a head start over other folks are plumbers, electricians, you know, the ones that already kind of know how to renovate, because there's so many subcontractors that'll take advantage of you. But think about this: the guys that have followed my advice have gotten a real estate license, so they've learned a lot of the details and of what it takes to invest. Now they went on and they had some passion to be. They wanted to do their own work, so they liked plumbing. Went in there and got their plumbing's license, and now he's working for himself. You want to work for yourself, and get a trade like an electrician.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, like, what do you mean by a trade? Like, what type of trades?
Yeah, I mean, like a framer or a plumber, and, you know, an electrician. I think that the plumbing and electrician are the most important ones, because they're something that you got to go to a trade school to learn. And that's the easier ones for people to take advantage of you if you hire a sub. But if you're doing it on your own, then you're going to take better care of your property, and you're going to have access to make sure you're doing it right. But I love my buddy that's I have one electrician and one plumber, young men, and just getting it done. And they bought a house, fixing it up. You know, it's not that hard to pull carpet out and paint and stuff like that. But you know, and it's expensive to hire a plumber and electrician. But when you already know that, and think about this, when you can work for yourself and you don't have to work every day as a plumber. My buddy has one a helper, and he doesn't have any other employees, but he gets his work. He takes some side jobs. He's a licensed plumber. But then if he doesn't want to work the following week, or he wants to concentrate on renovating his home, he just won't take any side jobs next week. And but you can literally be on your own schedule. There's so much opportunity out there for plumbers and electricians. We literally have a shortage of it, and they make $50-$60 an hour.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, honestly.
Yeah, and it's tough to find a lot of the men out there now. I just talked to an electrician, young man, that his biggest trouble is finding people to work for him. He wanted to be bigger than just himself and a assistant. So he's been trying to get. He's got a staff of. He's got about 6 electricians, but they're all in the 50, 60-year-olds. There's no young plumbers, there's no young electricians, and you can do so much more with that license besides just plumbing. You can do your side jobs and make sure nobody's scamming you. But you can still win without being a plumber. But I'm just saying, if you want to be all in, now if you want to go to college, I would highly recommend accounting and financing. Forget the marketing. You know, you can learn of that. I've learned so much more from my dad and his friends, because I'm a deep listener when it comes to business. So when my buddies were out partying in spring break, my dad's friends would say, "Why are you hanging out with us?" Because I want to listen to you. I want to hear your experiences. I don't want to make the same mistakes that you guys are talking about. So I want to learn from you. You know, never think that you know everything.
Right.
Always strive to learn more. And when you can have an open mind and be humble, you can really win. You can benefit from that kind of attitude.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, with single family homes or multifamily homes, how do you spot a good deal on an investment property? Like, how can you tell this is the deal? Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that, but I want to also go back one when you were talking about the young investor, you know, and getting a residential. I forgot to tell you that, you know, I have moved 18 times to get where I want to get, because what I would do is I would buy a home, fix it up. Actually, I would build a home and get it ready, live in it for a year, or maybe sell it, because it's always for sale. All of my real estate, I don't have, on all my real estate that I don't have it all listed, but everything I own, as my dad would say, everything's for sale except my family. Everything, and my dad would never fall in love with his real estate. He said, never fall in love with it, because once you fall in love with it, then you're going to be trapped. And so I would build a house, and I would love it, but not that much when somebody offered to buy it, because I would take that money. And when you do that, you don't have to pay taxes on when you build a house for yourself and then you sell it. You don't have to pay taxes on that. You can put all of that money into the next home. So I went from, I literally forget about that my family had money. I wanted to make it on my own. The very first home, doctor, that I ever owned was a mobile home, because that's what I could afford. And now by myself, I bought a mobile home, lived in it, saved my money, and while I was building my first $100,000 home. So then I only lived in that mobile home for maybe 6 months, and then I flipped that, sold that, made some money, and I bought but before I bought the mobile home, I was living at my parents'. But then I took that money, built this $100,000 home, lived there for a year, always had it listed for sale. Somebody, which you got to have a certain mentality, because you always got to keep the house clean. You know, you kind of got to, it is very inconvenient, but again, my thought process was my future. One day I'm going to get to that home that I don't have to sell, that I don't have to, I can allow it to be lived in and not kept it clean all the time. But I bought that $100,000 home and moved up to where I owned a $1 million home, and I did it on my own. But I moved, and it takes a toll on your kids and family. But you got to have the right partner that is in that. Because I've seen friends that say, you know, my wife didn't want to do that. Well, and that's fine. You gotta listen to your spouse. But if you have a spouse that is supportive and say, hey, I believe in you. You know, I know that one day we're gonna be in a position where we don't have to move all the time. But I was able to get there from a mobile home to $1 million home, and I did it in a relatively short period of time, probably 10, 15 years, which is nothing in time as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. So would you say you were flipping houses, Chris? You were buying and flipping them? Like
I was buying them, and then if I did not sell them, I would move into them. So it'd be my home, and then I wouldn't build another one until I sold that home.
Okay. So our options could be like buy a single family home, rent it out. We could buy maybe a property below market level and flip it, right? And we could buy a multiplex.
Yeah, and then or build one, or have it built if you, because sometimes building it yourself can turn out to be more expensive than having somebody else build it. But it's a lot about who you know. You got to have the right friends, but it sounds tough, but it's very doable.
Thank you so much. So back to our question before you went back about spotting a good deal on an investment. Like, how can we spot that good deal?
Yeah, how do you spot it? Well, that's a tough question too. You know, I have to, and I've been thinking about it because I feel like I have kind of a sixth sense for that. So, but for those friends that don't, they pay attention to the market. They see where the young folks, where the new families want to live. So what you want to do is find an area that's up and coming, maybe not already there, but just up and coming. Maybe they've been talking about it potentially being a place where families want to live. Find a house. Look around. Just don't look on the internet. Drive around and see some homes, and then I'm telling you, just because a house isn't for sale doesn't mean a family doesn't want to sell it. I have walked up to homes or saw families outside or an older gentleman and just say, hey, I know your house is not for sale, but I sure love it. It's a beautiful home. Have you ever thought about selling it? And well, you know, we've thought about selling it, but you know, and then or no, leave us alone. But if you aren't afraid to hear the word no, and I'm not, that's going to be a big advantage to you. And if you're able to talk to folks and just say, whether just introduce yourself and say, I'm looking for a home, and I just love your house. Would you sell it? And or if there's a house that's been on the market forever, or this goes for real estate too. If it's been on I don't like property that is newly listed, or ones that that I do love the ones that's been for sale for a long time, because if there's a reason why they're on for sale for a long time, either that's obviously overpriced. There's a lot of things to do with it, but one of these days that seller is going to realize that they priced it had it priced too high, and you might just be that one that they realize that they'll take a lot less. I have bought property that was listed at way too high. And I said, well, whenever you really want to sell it, call me. And or in 6 months, and I would do that. I said, I noticed that your property is still for sale. I mean, yeah, I just never been shy about talking, because I've made a lot of money by not being shy, and then not worrying about hearing no. And what's the worst thing they can do to you? Yell at you and say, "Get off my property."
Get off my.
Yeah, I mean, so who cares? You know, who cares?
I'm guessing you've had a lot of experiences.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, for every yes, I get 100 no's. But there's a lot of folks that don't want to hear no. And you know, my brother and actually my dad, I remember the very first piece of property that I bought after I was able to start making some money. I bought a 10-acre piece of property, and the owner kept saying that he was going to sell it to me. And every time we would get ready to sign a contract, he would not show up or not do it. And my dad would get so mad. He said, "Why are you kissing that guy's butt?" I said, "Dad, it's not hurting anything." Yeah, he's not telling me, not being honest with me, not straight, but I really like his property. Awesome. And he's, you know, I said, he's probably doing it to everybody else too. He's probably playing me. And so I'm just going to keep playing the game. I'm willing to play by his rules until I don't want to anymore. So he would keep lying to me, or whatever you want to say it. But then one day he says, "You know what? I am ready. And if you have the money now, I'll sell it to you." And I was able to, that was my very first mobile home park that I built. Wow. 54 lots. I feel like I stole the property. I was able to develop, and that's what the old saying is in real estate. You want to, you know, I want to steal a piece of property. It's not really stealing it, but you just know that you got a really good deal. So that's how we phrase it. Man, I stole that property. And so I was able to develop it. And not only after I got it up and got it filled, I got I refinanced it where I got all of my money investment back, and then had more money from that refinancing where I went and bought another piece of property where I was using the bank money, and I got all of my investment back, but still was making that. You got to have like 80% loan to value. You got to have your 20% equity to get a bank to finance it. But I was able to get all that back and then pour it into the next deal. I'm always pouring it into the next deal. I got some really cool deals coming up right now that I'm excited about. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Chris. So I still have a lot of questions, but today is Q&A. It's a Q&A session. So I'm going to put my questions on hold, and we're going to go ahead. I have 16 questions in my question box, Chris. So they have a lot of questions for you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they have a lot. Oh my God, a lot of questions for you. So guys, if you guys do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the question box, and I will go ahead and put it on the screen. What's your opinion on purchasing? Oh, okay. So here's a question here, Chris. I'm going to list it. It says, what's your opinion on purchasing real estate from auctions for the purpose of flipping?
You know, I highly recommend it. You know, Louisville has a foreclosure list that I used to go to all the time. And they come out monthly, and then they have an auction that's once a month here in Louisville. And we go there, and you go before it goes out to the public. Even though it's a public auction, not a lot of people pay attention to it. It's mainly investors. But I'll go to the, especially in the beginning of my investing, I would go there. I have bought property from at auctions. I have stolen a lot of property at auctions that I felt was worth more. And yeah, that's a great way of getting ahead of the game. Get your local foreclosure list, and study the homes, check the neighborhoods, and they'll give you enough time to decide what you want to do with it. You can go in there, and you typically can't really get into it, but you know, I've gotten into them before, and yeah, I love that. I've done very well with that.
So Chris, this is just a follow-up question regarding the foreclosed home questions. So when you're buying a foreclosed home, is there a certain amount that you're required to put down for down payment? Are they expecting you to buy it outright cash, or how does that work?
Well, here, like I said, yeah, every state and city may be different, but in Louisville, the uh, the bank is the reason it's in foreclosure is because they owe the bank. So let's just say it's $100,000 piece of property and the bank is owed 50,000. Most of the time, the bank will just go to what they are owed. So if they'll bid up, and 100,000 is a good example. So if they're only owed $50,000 on a $100,000 piece of property, the bank will bid on it for 50 grand, and then whoever gets bids higher than that, then it'll be their property. But there is a certain percentage that you have to reach, and I have to think about that. From the 50,000 to 100,000, you have to get as close to. There's a certain percentage that if you don't reach at that particular moment, that the former owner could come back within a year and buy it back. They have to give you your money back and pay you for it. But if I always, what I would do is bid that one number that would give you this safety that the old owner would never come back and buy it from you. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. I think so.
So I'll just one more time. I'll on a $100,000 home. Let's just say it's out of that 50,000 was owed to the bank, and the $70,000 is the number that you would have to bid to make sure you have the home, that keep the other owner, the former owner, from coming back at you, Deola. So if you went, if the bank bid 50 and you bid 60, and you were a top bidder, the other owner, the former owner, could come back within a year and give you your $60,000 back and get their home. But if you bid, even though you were the top bidder at 60, and you say, okay, I want to bid 70 against myself, I want to get that 70 so that owner can't come back on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, is that better?
That makes sense. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And when you buy from the bank, you don't have to, you can finance that too, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to pay for it right away.
Okay.
And, you can put they'll give you 60 or 90 days to come up with the money. So, but you'll have to put a little deposit down.
Okay.
At least the last time that I was that I dealt with one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
There was another.
Thank you, Chris. There was another question that was here from earlier on that I saw. They said, any suggestions to where to buy your first investment property at low cost? I know we just mentioned one, the auction. Do you have any other suggestions, Chris?
Well, I would say I would go back to what I mentioned. Know your local market. Like, right now I'm really pushing my friends that want to get into the real estate business to invest in these city lots in Louisville, Kentucky. You can own real estate. You can own a lot for $4,000 and build you a home on it. Those opportunities are not, they're not there that often. There hasn't been. It just started here locally, and there's going to be a lot of development coming into this area. So if you have areas in your cities like that, and you have to pay attention because they don't really, you're not going to see it, plastered over Facebook or Instagram, or you got to be in the know. You got to pay attention. And if anybody was not too far away and was interested in Louisville, Kentucky, I would definitely be able to lead you in the right direction for some lots, and then and be able to help you there, like I'm helping some of my friends now.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. There's a question here with someone said, what's the time window the owner can come back? I think you mentioned a year. I'm not sure.
A year, yeah. In Louisville, it's a year.
So it depends on the state.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to pin another question here. Someone said, would you advise buying an investment property in an area marked as an opportunity zone?
Yeah, the opportunity zone is another great way of where the government is trying to help an area get refurbished, and it's been a great way. Some of my friends are investing their money, and it's a program that I haven't done. I haven't bought any property in the opportunity zones, but they're all over the country. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't. I was gonna ask you, can you elaborate on what an
Yeah,
opportunity?
yeah. I would Google. I would just really Google
Mhm.
opportunity zone real estate investment. Government, and that should pop up, and they'll give you every city that has um, the areas where you can invest in these opportunity zones, and and there's some really great opportunities in there. Again, real estate is so local. I couldn't tell you where in Dallas or
Mhm.
Chicago. I can tell you where in Louisville that
Mhm.
would be a good one to be, but you got to really pay attention to your local market and get on that map on the government website and see where in your city are these opportunity zones. There's also a program that I just that somebody just brought to me, and I
Mhm.
have verified it that it's real. But where if you got foreign money, you can there's money out there that that non-resident Americans or just that want to get their residency or that they can invest in um, uh, this area and they'll get their they'll get their citizenship based on that investment. And I've got some families that are wanting to invest in something with me where they're going to put up this money, and it's I'm just learning. I might have to get back with you on that, but there's some
Okay.
new opportunities out there. There's always something new, and you just got to, like I said, just be up on your trade and stay up on if you're interested in real estate, a lot of different opportunities out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So there's another question here is you mentioned Google. What are some resources online we can access information on for current real estate?
Well, again, you can if you can do it, you can get your real estate license online. You don't even have to leave your home. I mean, and especially it's going to teach you about your local market. Invest. It might be $1,000, $2,000 to get your license, but it'll be the best money that you can invest in yourself on. And really, that would be the best thing that I could tell you, and on getting some information online.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. There's a question here. If a beginner investor wants to invest in land but has little or no capital, are there still options available for that individual? Is this type of investment advice? I can't read the whole thing. It wouldn't show the whole thing.
Yeah, I won't show the. I see
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
Unfortunately, if you have no capital, you don't have an opportunity. I mean,
Mhm.
you gotta have money, um, and yeah, you gotta have money to make money. You gotta have money to borrow money. It's amazing to think about, but I've got friends that say, well, I would if I had the money, I wouldn't need to borrow, but I wouldn't need to go to the bank. But
Mhm.
it's true. You got to have money to make money. You got to have money to. That's why you got to be willing to do some of the dirty work yourself. Um, you have to. You have to have your family to lend you money. If you're gonna, this is for your home. You need a place to live. So if you had somebody to invest in you, listen.
Mhm.
It's not like you're the easiest. There's nothing easy about it, but uh, you got to live somewhere. So if you're going to live somewhere, uh, you know, it'd be better to live in something that you want to make money off of than to pour it into an apartment. But there's a lot to be said for people that want to live in apartments. And real estate's not for everybody. It's luckily there's so many different people out there that um, and so many different reasons why people do things, and there's no shame in living in an apartment, but you're not going to be able to make money in real estate by doing that, but you might be making money in other ways. So, but if you want to be in real estate, you gotta find your way to get a small home and fix it up, make it look nicer, and always have it for sale. You just got to have capital.
So Chris, you speaking of apartment, this is my own questions before we get to the next question. So assuming I'm a young single lady and I live in an apartment, and I'm thinking about real estate investing, but I don't want to get a home to live in, but rather I want to get a home to rent out or do a single family home while I'm still staying in an apartment. What would be your advice on that? Would that make sense?
Yeah, because not ever in the market that you can afford to buy a home might not be where you want to live. And if you're in a position where you have a like yourself in a great job, you're making money, and you can afford to do that, absolutely. I mean, you buy the home, put the home in your name, and where it's that it's your home, and rent it out, and get that equity, get that payment, paying down the note. I could help you on that and give you some more details.
I'm gonna call you, Chris.
Yeah, do that. Call me up.
Awesome. So here's another question for you. They say, how do you stay sustainable through a market crash?
Well, and this is very important. I always live below my means. I could live in a fancier home than I do now. I could drive a car fancier than what I do. But I know, as my dad told me, that there's always going to be ups and downs in the real estate market. There's going to be crashes, and you got to be prepared. And so I never leveraged higher than I always lived below my means. Not a lot of people live above their means, and even if you live at your means, then that means that you don't really have that much discretionary money to invest in something. I'd rather live below it for my first 10 years of life, and then take every bit of money that I have to invest in my future. I mean, if you're living in the moment and you're living above your means, unless you win the lottery, you're going to have a hard time getting ahead. You got to make some sacrifices, and I had no problem doing that. My dad, when he was, it was way before I was born, when my three siblings were alive, my dad went bankrupt. I mean, but he learned a lot from that, and went from bankruptcy, when bankruptcy was a lot different than it is today. When he went bankrupt, he came home with his three kids out in the front yard. They had kicked them out of the house, took all their furniture, took all their appliances. My dad said all the food was laying all over the yard. His family was, they were all crying. It was like but now they took all his tools. Those kind of foreclosures don't happen anymore. I mean, back then they would just take everything you had. Wow. And but I mean, so he never forgot that. So he always lived below his means. He didn't like buying boats or planes, as he would say. His enjoyment was work. He found a lot of enjoyment by doing that. He didn't, everybody's got their different ways of releasing their stress, but he didn't have he didn't luckily have the desire to spend his money on He didn't have jewelry and there's a place for that when you get to the point when you can really invest. You own it. I told Nikki, because she was talking about these rappers that had bought an $18 million home and paid cash for it. And I said, that's great. If they never sing another song, she said, well, they have their house. I said, okay, but how are they going to pay for their real estate taxes on that? And then how are you going to pay for, think about the taxes on a $1 million home is in California was like $15,000, 13 I think I paid, whatever it was. So right off the bat, so imagine we're $1 million home. If you bought a $1 million home and you had to pay 13, 14,000, you better make sure that you got to have a job to at least bringing in $13,000 a year on it. You got to be able to pay those taxes. You know, I like to have a home that's paid for, but I got to remember, I better make enough money to pay those taxes, because that's where you see a lot of them go broke. They've invested, they've thrown all their money in their cars, and football players, for one, athletes are notorious for going through their money and filing bankruptcy, because they don't think about the expenses, you know.
Thank you, Chris. And there's a follow-up question by, this is Josie. She goes by the name Slow390. She said, can you still grow wealth in a market crash?
Oh, I've actually did great in a crash. I made a lot of money in that, because I always stay prepared. You know, because the best deals are when there's not a lot of money out there. You know, think about this, when a lot of your before the crash, I would have so much more competition. I would have, as an investor that was building homes and having my plumbers do their work, all of a sudden, when the market was going so high, my competition for real estate was against plumbers and electricians. They were being the investors. But when it crashed, they lost their opportunity. They lost their money. But I always kept enough to hold on to be ready for that, to where then I could gobble up things a lot cheaper. And you know, I bought property that should have been worth a lot more in the low. You can make a lot of money in tough times if you prepared yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a question here. Someone said, what advice do you have for upcoming real estate agents?
Okay. So what I hear is an up and coming real estate agent. I'm assuming that they've got their license, they're starting out, and the best advice for you is to be a people person. If you're a people person, you're gonna be great. And if you're a person that doesn't care about hearing the word no, you're going to do super. Get out there and especially now, different ways, you know, with Instagram and Facebook, different ways to promote yourself and inexpensively. But you got to get your name out there and cold call folks and go up to people and say, hey, do you want to sell your house? I'm a new real estate agent and I'm starving. I'm hungry. I want to do a great job for you, and I've got a lot of resources. My another great advice for an upcoming real estate: make sure that you're with someone that you have your license under, that knows what they're doing. There's a lot of realtors out there that have real estate agents under them, but they're not that experienced. So you want to have your license under a big company at first. Learn everything out of them. Learn everything from that big company, because they'll know everything. You might not make as much money with them, but go there strictly to learn. And anything you make is just a bonus. And then take that, and then you can branch off to a different one, a realtor, after you've already learned. For example, my brother, he's a realtor. He's got some people underneath him, but he's not an active realtor. So my sister, instead of putting her license under her brother's name, she went to the biggest group in Louisville, and wouldn't have got the same percentage as she would have gotten from my brother, but she went there in a less percentage because she wanted to learn from the best, and from the ones that do it every day. Go out there and learn from them. And then get out there and talk to your family and friends. You know, anybody that wants to sell, needs to come to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that advice. Here's a question that I have. Someone said house flipping or rental properties. Which do you recommend?
I like house flipping right now. You know, and where you can turn and you can go into it thinking you want to flip it. Well, really go into even if a rental property, always go into flipping it in your mind. Everything you have is for sale. As I mentioned before, don't fall in love with anything you got. Anything, if you have a rental property, that's a great, that's bringing in a good return. If somebody wants to overpay you, and I get people to do that, that'll overpay and want it worse than I wanted it, then I'll sell it. I'll find something else. But even when I'm not in a position to buy something, I'm always looking, because you never know when somebody might buy a piece of property from me. And then you want to be ready for the next job. Like, for example, I bought a mobile home park 3 years ago, and I paid $4 million for it, and I had no desire to sell it. It had a great cash flow, and a big company out of New York called and said that they wanted to buy it. I said, well, it's not for sale, but if you want to make me an offer. They ended up offering me $6.5 million on something that I didn't really want to sell. But needless to say, I took it. But to think about now, even though I was happy with that mobile home park, I was always looking, even if I couldn't afford the next deal, I was always looking for my next deal. You know, be looking. So when I sold that, I just happened to, you know, that I got all these other deals that I really want to, that if I had the money, I would buy. So I took that money and I bought these, and not only did I turn that $4 million investment into a $6.5 million investment, I took that $6.5 million investment. It's probably going to be a $10 million investment after a year, because I already had my properties lined up, ready to knew what I wanted to buy if I had the money. Now, there are some folks that could have leveraged, and leverage means borrow, leveraged my mobile home park, kept my mobile home park, and bought those other properties. But then if you hit that market, and if the market crashes, you could lose it all. So yeah, there's a fine line on being a gambler. I like to I don't mind gambling, but it's going to be a calculated gamble, a calculated risk. I'm a risk taker, but I'm gonna risk my money very in a calculated way. I'm not going to risk it in Bitcoin. I'm not going to risk it in things that I don't understand. And there's people that are making money off that. So hey, more power to you, and I'm happy that you're making it. It's just not what I want to make my money. It's too much of a risk for me. But I will risk it on a piece of real estate that I feel pretty daggone good about. But did I make any sense on that?
Oh, you made a lot of sense. So you're more of for the house flipping.
Yeah, because again, everything's for sale, and but that's the house flipping is what I would recommend first. Get in there and do everything you can yourself. Gut it, clean it, pull the carpet, and get the experts to do the detailed stuff. Really a lot like what you see on those TV shows. I know all reality is as you know, is make believe in some degree, but a lot of the things that I watch on those house flipping shows are things that I experience. There's some real value in learning it, and it is on the biggest part is buying the property right.
Buying the property right. Absolutely.
Yeah, at the right price. Yeah.
Thank you. I was reading somewhere, they're like, the moment you buy that property, you should have already made your profit or something. So get like a deal completely below.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what I want to buy something, and the way to do that is really is always asking people if they wanted to sell, and get it before it hits the market, get it before a realtor sells it. Just selling is saving some money off of a commission is going to put you in a positive. I mean, because you're already going to, once you pay a commission and you're paying more money than you would have to if you were working that property yourself, if you were looking for it yourself, if you were hunting for it yourself. Just be the hunter for that next real estate deal instead of asking a realtor to find it for you.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you have time, because I feel like a lot of people have so many questions here. I hope.
You know what? This is a passion of mine. This is not football season, so I can't watch any football. So this is my next form of entertainment, is talking real estate.
I can keep you for the next 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, not it, because at 4 o'clock I got my masseuse coming over. I got to release. That's how I release my stress too.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I would make sure that we're just gonna take a few more questions, guys, and we're gonna close it up. Someone said, "Is there a gazette for the residential and commercial beauties?" I'm not really sure what gazette means. Do you know?
Well, I'm thinking trade magazines, maybe a gazette, something that you read. I mean, I am addicted to my magazines that I get. There's mini storage magazines, or mobile home magazines, they're tiny home magazines, residential developer magazines. I don't buy People magazine. I read there's a magazine that for landscaping. I mean, there's stuff. These are some of the things I got on my desk. I got a dictionary of banking terms. I got this one. I got property management for dummies. I'm always reading about this stuff because it's just nice that I love what I do. So it's.
Oh, I lost you, Chris. I can't hear you.
Yeah, somebody called in. I apologize.
Okay, I can hear you now. All right. Yeah, I notice every time I'm always around you and Nikki, you're usually always reading something. Those magazines, even when you're on a flight, you're always.
Yeah, I can. She laughs at me because I'll carry, because that's where I try to catch up on all my old reading is carrying around a suitcase full of magazines. And it's so heavy when I leave, but then when I get, I'm done, I catch up on it from my vacations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. Here's a question here. What's the best method of building a house? SIP panels or stick build? I don't know what that is.
Well, I'm not familiar with that SIP term, but panelized, if we're what you're talking about. I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. I'm not building a tiny home community per se. It's kind of like I'm calling it a cozy home community. It's bigger than a tiny home. These are going to be about 700 to 800 square feet, just like a small 2-bedroom apartment. And I found this property, wasn't listed, and 12 acres that I stole this property. I really did. But I'm going to build these small homes, and to where instead of building an apartment building, when you have people on top of you and on the side of you, I'm gonna. I bought this property to where I can afford to build a smaller community. I'm going to have 95 homes versus 188 what I could build if they were apartments. But I'm going to build something that's never been done here in Louisville. I'm going to build small apartment-like, if you will, units, but you won't have neighbors literally separated by walls. And what I'm doing, I've got to call a new company called Easy PB Homes that are going to build the shells for me. So kind of like a panelized home, and because what I'm going to gain from that is the lumber has gotten so out of this, it's out of control pricing. They're literally pricing us not even to be able to build a home right now. And you got to have almost cash to pay for it all. But I've got this, they're going to build a shell for me with a roof, and they're building so many of them that the price of the lumber is on their scale is so much cheaper. They're going to bring the shell in, lumber, same exact way of building it on site from an individual builder, but they're going to have the 2x6 walls, shingle roof, lap siding, but then I'm going to put them on a permanent foundation, and then I'm going to get my local subs to put all and save money that way, instead of buying a lumber package locally right now is almost unaffordable. So I think that's what they're talking about is, yeah, the panels, bringing them in from a controlled environment where they're not in the weather. I think that's going to be a big part of the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That's so I'm just going to ask you my last question. I have more questions for you, but I feel like I don't want to take too much of your time. So my question for you is, as a new real estate investor, what should be our short-term and long-term goals?
My long-term goal is what are your dreams? You know, my dream 10, 20 years ago was to have a house that's paid for, to where I didn't have to move anymore. But everybody has their own different goals. So I would never want to tell somebody what their goal should be. But what is your goal? So, and when you decide that, just for example, we'll just use my goal, that I want to have a very comfortable home. I want to have it paid for. I want to be able to bring money in to pay all the expenses. I want to have rental income so that it will pay for. I want to be able to, if I decide that I didn't want to work any longer, which I don't see that myself being like that, but if I didn't want to work and I wanted to make money, as my dad would say, you want to make money while you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. My dad said, and the only way you do that is have your real estate is making money for you 24/7 if you've got the right properties. So you're literally making money while you sleep, and that was my way of my dad teaching me, make money while you're sleeping. So my long-term goal is to have a home and enough income to where if I didn't want to do anything, if I wanted to volunteer, I'm still going to be able to have my money, paying all my bills, taking care of my family. And so that being said, my short-term goals is always thinking of my long-term goal and never put myself in a position that I can't grow. You know, and if you're not bringing the money, the seed money for your next deal, you can't get that next deal to grow. So just live below your means. That's your short-term goal, and take that money and invest it in something that's relatively safe. And relatively safe is different for everybody. So safe for me was having an education of a real estate license, knowing what I was buying. And so I bought that home on Smyrna Parkway for $100,000. And okay, now I bought this home. Now this is not my long-term goal, so it's going to be for sale. And then just continue to grow your short-term. Just plan on being busy and not, you can still have fun and go to the beach, but don't expect to stay on the beach until your long-term goal is there. You just gotta, don't be greedy, and stay humble. and always want to learn. Those are your short-term goals, is feed the brain of yours and know what you're, and get to know what you're doing. You know, learn the terminologies, and it's all out there. If you want it, that's what's crazy to me. I tell people I don't like whiners, complainers, or negative people. There's no reason to be negative. There's no reason to be a complainer, because there's so many different resources out there. Just learn, and instead of sitting there watching your favorite show, go out and watch your foreclosure list. You know, study the neighborhood. You know, if you really want to, it's just it goes back to passion. If you really have the passion that you want to be better than your position is right now, you got to fight for it. I mean, and it's I got to tell you, it's so much more enjoyable, the things that I've earned myself, than the things. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the things that my father and mother have given me, but there's no other better enjoyment than what I've earned myself. And that's a great feeling.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much. There's someone here, they've been asking this question the whole day. They want to know, do you have a mentorship program? Maybe you might want to consider adding this to your
No, you know what? I mean, I love to do that. And I really do. And it is tough, because I don't always get back to folks as in a quick fashion, but I always get back to them. And yeah, I'd love to do that. And if I have the time, and I'll do it. So let's see, what's the best way? You know, the best way is to reach me. I'm always on Facebook. So, you know, what is that? Instant Messenger?
Messenger, I think.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Facebook
Yeah,
Messenger.
reach out to me there. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. And it, do you is it the same name? They can just type in your full name on Facebook.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Chris Thieneman. Yeah.
Yeah, you can find Chris on Facebook to ask him questions if you.
And you can also Google "Meet My Older Husband." Did you know that my beautiful wife has a YouTube channel? That,
Yes.
That if you Google "Meet My Older Husband," we come up first. We pop up, and we've got over 1 million views on that.
Oh, nice, nice.
And
what is it called again?
If you just Google "Meet My Older Husband,"
Meet my older husband.
and that's, if you type in "Meet My Older Husband."
Oh, meet my older husband. Okay.
Yeah, meet my older husband.
Uh-huh.
Are you doing that?
Yeah. Uh-huh. So now I'm letting people know what to type in. So meet my older husband on
and Google that, and then our mug shots come up front and center.
Yes.
So we got some cute videos on there that and Nikki always sends me messages that people are asking her to give to me. So there's different ways to contact us.
Yes, yes. And Nikki's page, Nikki's YouTube video page, it's called Powder Room with Nikki. So you can always put her on there as well. Yes.
And we had some fun on our reality show too. When we were on 90 Day Fiance.
They were on 90 Day Fiance. If you guys know that show, you should go ahead and check it out. You can learn more about Chris on there and Nikki. Thank you guys so much for attending today's show. So Chris, I don't know if you were paying attention. Now is your time to pick 2 guests that you believe participated the most, and you would like to make them win the gift. And Nikki says, any questions, we're always willing to help. Yes. So DM Chris, message him on Facebook, and they're always willing to help, honestly.
Well, you know, the first one that I have to reach out to, and if you were going to give a gift, I love the ones that are not afraid to ask for something. So the person that asked if I had a mentorship program should get one of the gifts. So,
see me. Nice. Love it.
So do that. And then the other one was the question that was the realtor, the one that the person that was saying, what would you have? What advice would you give to the one that's an up and coming real estate agent? So
that is Miriam. Miriam.
yeah,
Forever Miriam.
but I
Yeah.
love all of you guys. But that's what I would. Those are two. I like when don't be afraid to ask. Just don't
Yes.
and just don't worry about hearing the word no.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Thank you guys so much. That was awesome, Chris. I really appreciate you for taking the time out to be
Oh, my
here.
pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Everybody on this show, go ahead and thank Chris. Go ahead and say something nice in the comments.
Or not. You can be mean. I got
No,
thick skin.
don't be
I'm
mean. I'm
used to
pretty
it.
sure.
I promise you.
I'm pretty sure we all learned a lot from you today. We all did. So I just want to say thank you so much. I hope to have you back on this show at some
Yeah, I
point.
love to. And go out there and make some money. Make some money, folks.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this show today. And everybody do have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.
Take care. Good luck.
Yeah, bye.